Hello, everyone, and welcome to SOLIDWORKS Live Design. So if you've never watched before, SOLIDWORKS Live Design is a series that we run here at SOLIDWORKS that is dedicated to the pursuit of learning from one another using the medium of live demo and exploration as we share our favorite software tips and tricks over the course of about 20 minutes or so. My name is Sean O'Neill, and today we are joined by James Whomsley. James is a YouTuber at Project Air and an engineer who is dedicated to pushing engineering to the limit. He's a Guinness World Record holder, and his channel hosts boundary-breaking videos that have been seen by millions worldwide. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Sean. Yes, nice to be here. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, it's really exciting to be on your YouTube channel and streaming live to everyone.
Absolutely, man. So yeah, I guess over the next 60 seconds or so, I introduced you a little bit, but could you tell us maybe more of the backstory of your channel and the 3 key topics of this episode of SOLIDWORKS Live Design?
Sure. So yeah, basically, I started my YouTube channel, Project Air, in 2017 off the back of always having built things as a kid, you know, getting into RC aeroplanes specifically. That's what I based the channel around in the beginning. And yeah, I've just been doing that kind of thing since and pushing the boundaries of what model engineering and, you know, RC engineering can do. So yeah, I went from sort of pens and paper to doing stuff with CAD, and that's where SOLIDWORKS has come in. And what I want to talk about today is about one of my biggest projects ever, which was my aircraft carrier. So about 4 or 5 months ago, I started building this ginormous 5 meter long, 16.4 foot long aircraft carrier. And the aim was to land these aeroplanes that I have behind me and this one here that I have right next to me on the deck. So what we're going to be talking about is the form and function dimensioning, just making sure that airplane's not going to fall off the table. Form and function dimensioning of the aircraft carrier. So how I came up with how big it is and that kind of thing. The material selection, what I used to build the aircraft carrier, and then also the design of it in terms of how modular it was and how we ended up converting it into a battleship even, with making sure it was modular. So yeah, that's basically what we're going to be discussing today.
Perfect. Thanks for the backstory. Thanks for the sort of introduction of the 3 key topics. So yeah, let's dive right into it if you don't mind. Let's take a look now at the first key topic for today's episode of SOLIDWORKS Live Design.
Great. So what we're going to be talking about first is form and functioning. So form and function dimensioning, I should say. So the aircraft carrier, we've got the aircraft carrier up here on SOLIDWORKS. So this is
there we go.
Yeah, this is the model that I used to design the aircraft carrier in the first place, to base the real construction off of. So yeah, what we needed to do in the beginning was work out how big this thing was going to be. So the deck here, which is this piece, obviously, this needed to be as large as possible, because if we have a look at the finished at the actual video, which is just here on my screen, we only had we had to basically try and land these airplanes on a platform, and the platform needed to be as large as possible. So wanted to maximize that. The only problem was that we had to get this thing on a trailer, and I think there might be a clip of it on a trailer in a minute, somewhere around here. But yeah, basically we had to design it so that it would fit within a trailer. So this here ended up being basically, or essentially, the size of a trailer that we had access to. Yes, so
it's interesting to note that, yeah, because seeing the first clip especially, I was looking at it, I was like, oh, well, that's not a lot of runway for that plane, especially if it's going of considerable speed and considering maybe its ability to brake. But
yes, exactly. It's got no ability. It's got no ability to brake.
Yeah,
we had to, I'll cover that in a minute with these arrestor wires. That was part of the whole development of this project. But yeah, essentially we had to make this deck as large as possible, but fit it within a trailer. So I ended up with something that was, as I think I mentioned before, 5 meters long, approximately, which is about 16 and a bit feet. So yeah, that's what we went from. So I went from having a few sketches to drawing this out, and this was the first piece I actually drew out in SolidWorks, which was this big deck here. So from there, we went on to choose the materials, which is the next section of this live stream.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. So yeah, the second key topic here is the material selection kind of criteria here, which I find really interesting with this project for similar reasons.
Yeah. So basically, what we wanted to do was make sure that this aircraft carrier was extremely buoyant. So I started by getting all of this, as you can see from the video here, this foam, which was something I've used on other videos, and laid it out on the floor. And this is what we made the aircraft carrier from. So if I remove the deck here, if I just hide that, you'll see the structure within the aircraft carrier. So each one of these panels here is a foam sheet. So this was a 600 by 1600 millimeter sheet. I think it was about 40 millimeters deep or thick. So that's why we have this structure here, where it's quite boxy, this whole thing. But one of the things we wanted to do was make sure it was extremely easy to build and quick to build as well, because with these YouTube videos, we're on a bit of a deadline, a bit of a crunch sometimes. So we made sure to use SolidWorks to sort of work out how to efficiently lay these all out, and how to come up with this strong structure with these bulkheads. So we had these 3 bulkheads going across like this, and then these longitudinal bulkheads going down the middle of the craft. And from there, we could see with this model where we could put the attachment points for the deck, which were we've not actually got them drawn in here, but there's 2x4 wooden planks that would go sort of. I was pointing with my finger then, point with a cursor instead. That went sort of along these bits of the structure, and then we could glue them to the boat, and then sort of attach the deck. So that's basically the structure.
That's really cool. And I want to, mention everyone who's watching here. We're making really good time, James. So if you have questions for James regarding any of the contents of the video or his creative process, his design process, one of the benefits of being here today, right, as we go about this episode live, is that you can ask questions. So we do have the omniscient SolidWorks looking at the chat and passing along select questions to us. So yeah, if you have questions about any of this, feel free to ask. I wanted to ask you, James. So it looks like you basically designed all this within a single part file. It looks like basically you just kind of did a bunch of extrudes, a bunch of cutouts within that area. I guess it's something that is sort of rigid. A common topic in the SolidWorks sphere is, should I be using assembly functionality or using parts? But yeah, I did find that sort of remarkable that you chose that method.
Yeah, well, I would say that this whole project was actually in some ways extremely simple. So the overall design of this boat, as we mentioned just before when I was showing it off, and as you can probably tell, it was built to be as quick to make, designed to be as quick to make as possible. So yeah, it didn't really make for a very complicated design or a very complicated model in SolidWorks. So we could get away with just doing it all in one project. File. Yeah.
And I guess it kind of hits back to your first point, which is, making it so that it's simple enough and modular enough that it can be, kind of transported somewhat easily, assembled somewhat easily. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yep, absolutely.
Very, very cool. So yeah, is that as far as your comments on material selection, is that about it there?
Yep. Yeah. So do you want to go on to the next bit, which is about the modular design?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's take a look at the final sort of key topic for today, which is, as you mentioned, modular design and assembly. So yeah, we see here in the backdrop some of your CAD. But yeah, like talk to us a little bit more about that, maybe from the CAD standpoint, but also just again why you did it.
Yeah, so absolutely. So maybe one of the best things is to show you the video, the actual final video, if I can find it. There it is. So we
I'm
wanted
guessing
to,
a lot of and I saw the video, so like, yeah, like a lot of wood glue in this one.
yes, a lot of wood glue, a lot of fiberglass as well. So maybe if I'll just show you around here, you can sort of see us putting the wooden deck on top of the structure that I was just showing you in SolidWorks.
Yeah,
If I just get on a bit more about here.
a lot
Here
of
we go.
clamps too. A lot of clamps I noticed.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So this was when we were putting fiberglass on the hull, but it was very important to be able to access all of these internal spaces within the hull. So it was quite nice to have a design where you can actually, well, you can go back to SolidWorks and you can, see where I can actually cut the holes by, if we just remove the deck or we hide it, we could measure on this model very easily, and then start drilling holes in it and cutting access hatches without accidentally going into one of these bulkheads or something with the jigsaw. So yeah, that was quite nice. Also, there was later on, actually, if I just go back to
Yeah, sure.
SolidWorks, you'll notice these things on the end here, which are the arrestor wire anchor points. So we
Yeah,
had
I was noticing those, and I think for a lot of CAD users,
yeah,
some people try to get things like absolutely like lifelike and perfect. But yeah, I noticed those were kind of like floating out there.
yeah. So these were a bit of an approximation. We went back and made some. I think there were some better versions of these, or improved versions further down the line, that we actually went out and 3D printed. But this was, coming back to the modular design, being able to sort of have everything on one project, and then have different parts of the boat that could be altered or changed, and it wouldn't affect everything else on the design as a whole, such as the ski jump, which is on here. So we could change the design of the ski jump. I could have a look at this was, oh, sorry, just for context, this is what the aeroplanes actually take off on. So they have a bit of a ramp there. And yes, being able to visualize that and then maybe change it in CAD was quite helpful for when we wanted to build it in real life, because we could see what sort of angle it was without actually having to cut any material whatsoever in the first place. So yeah, and as you'll see, it worked quite well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure if everyone watching this has seen the video, but we did end up actually managing to both take off and land 2 model aircraft on the aircraft carrier. Here's the first one. So I was very pleased with that. And we actually got the Guinness World Record.
So it actually so in this case, I wanted to ask you. It was hard to see, but did the ramp actually stop the plane in that instance?
Well, the thing that actually stopped the plane was there was a piece of 2x4 which was just running across the front of the deck to keep
I see that.
the edge
Okay.
of the deck nice and rigid, so it didn't flop. Which was, I thought at the time, would be quite a nice, emergency braking system if I missed these arrestor wires. But yeah, so that actually did turn out to be the case. I don't think we actually have that on the. Oh no, we do have that on the CAD model. There it is.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, that was the all-important part of this modular design that actually allowed us to achieve the mission.
Awesome. See a friend of the channel, a friend of SolidWorks, JBV Creative, said, "I love this project and videos so much."
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
Very, very cool. What was your I wanted to ask you, what was your kind of your biggest, if you had to pick one, like one of your biggest learning experiences from this project? Like if you were to think back to when you conceptualized it, and then, once you got to the point where, it was landing, things were working, what was kind of your biggest learning experience, whether it was in SolidWorks or just practically out there in the real world with the actual project?
So I would say it's probably the how much work I had to put into this boat. So I had lots of friends coming along to help with it. I had my good friend Sam volunteer his summer holiday from university to come and stick everything
Good
together and
friend.
glue stuff. Yeah, with it. But I think it was maybe. So what did I learn from that? It was probably that I underestimated how much work this thing was going to be, the manpower. But then again, SolidWorks really helped with to design the whole thing first, and I should have probably seen how much work it was going to be from that design. But I thought, well, maybe I was taken in by how simple it looked with all the boxy sides and everything. But yeah, the amount of fiberglassing and everything, it took forever.
Well, you might say, I mean, behind every great project, every challenging project is an irrational optimist.
That's me. That is me. Yeah, on every single project, I'm very over optimistic in terms of how difficult it's going to be. Yeah, I think I underestimate it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I do the same, but often, as we've kind of been saying, I mean, that tends to result in some of your best work, right? So it isn't something that is regrettable, but I wanted to, first of all, I know we've gotten through we have a question or two here. I wanted to thank you for jumping on and sharing those 3 key topics or 3 key lessons with us on live design today. But yeah, I wanted to get into some Q&A, and I also wanted to shout out while we're here, a little something called Iron Swug. So Iron Swug, it's going to be occurring in June. It's full of SOLIDWORKS presentations. You can make new connections. It's going to be occurring across various states in the month of June, both in person and online. You can check out all the details. It's all free at ironswug.com. So yeah, let's take a look at some questions. I see a prospective Guinness World Record holder here in the chat, asking a question about that very topic. So, and excuse me if I'm mispronouncing the name here. It's Emerge in 3D. PT says, "Hi James, I'm building something and trying a world record as well, or trying to get a world record as well. How was the process with Guinness regarding design and the rule book?"
Yeah, well, my experience of working with Guinness has been absolutely lovely. It's been very easy. They're very helpful. If you go for a record, then it just takes a while for your application to be sort of approved, so a few weeks, and then you get the rules, and it states very clearly what you need to do to break that record. So yeah, it's really quite simple and straightforward. I've heard stories about some people it taking a bit longer for, but I think if you don't mind waiting a few weeks for them to process your application, it's not the end of the world. So yeah, it's been quite favorable.
Guinness feels like one of the longest running institutions in our society at this point.
Yeah, it's a big one. So it's very nice to have actually been able to achieve a couple of world records. It's it's a nice achievement.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, I hope I'm sure you are super proud of that. I wanted to, shout out another comment, not necessarily a question, but Brilliant Design says, "Seeing the model in SOLIDWORKS is always a surprise to actually see the scale in real life, not to mention estimated work versus real life work." It's interesting. I mean, James, from your perspective, even looking, because any model, it's like you don't exactly know the scale unless you've physically seen it, right? Or you've
Yeah,
looked
that's
at a
true.
dimension. It's like looking at that. It's like, yeah, it's hard to know exactly and maybe that is some of the maybe CAD itself can lend itself to the irrational optimism in a good or a bad way. Like making
Yes.
something in CAD, you're literally just making shapes, and it comes together, and it's like,
Yeah.
I made it here, I can make it there, and yes, maybe, but yeah, a crazy amount of work to be sure.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I'm doing to try and help visualize things in more of a actual real world way is to make a mock-up of certain things. So I'm building a hovercraft at the moment, and that's going to be a speed hovercraft. We're going to try and go as fast as possible with it. So it's going to be quite long, and I'm going to sit in it. So what we've been doing is taking the CAD model that we're designing and sort of making a very, very rough cardboard model of it. So I can actually get a feel for how close it is to your shoulders. When you're sat in the cockpit, you've got the steering wheel in front of you, where the steering should be. And then you can go back into the CAD and then start adjusting things. So sorry, excuse me. That's been quite a nice process for bridging that gap.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll look out for that. I noticed, yeah, at the beginning you kind of did a very scaled down version of like a 3D print, I believe, with this project. But yeah, getting it to scale, I'm sure will open your eyes a bit more.
Yes, yeah. Well, it was just a process of for me. The first time I saw it was when I laid out the sheets in this workshop. Those 600 by 1600 millimeter sheets. I just sort of put them all down in the workshop, and yeah, it actually, I would say that it encouraged me to make it though, because I saw how awesome it looked as a thing and how much fun this was all going to be. I just underestimated exactly how much work would be, how much work it would take to sort of make it strong enough to transport to the lake. And, you know, I realized, oh, I have to probably put some fiberglass on it and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it was involved, but I couldn't really foresee that in the beginning.
Makes total sense, man. That is actually leads us to, I think, the last question we'll take for today. And I wanted to mention, if you have any questions later on, all of these episodes are basically videos that exist on the channel. And you can actually just comment and tag at Project Air for those in the comment section of the video once this is sort of fully uploaded in its entirety. And James will be looking out. I think you mentioned, James, like over the next 10 days or so.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to be in the comments, so make sure to write some questions down there, and I'll try my best to answer as many as possible. I'll see what I can do.
Awesome, man. So there's one more question, once again, from JBV Creative, a friend of SolidWorks here. If you knew, and this is a great closing question, I think, because I don't think you've answered this directly. If you knew how much work it would have been in the first place, would you have taken on the project?
Well, I've got a one-word answer, which is yes, I definitely would have done. Yes, I absolutely would have done. It was an amazing project. It paid off in its achievement in terms of seeing that thing on the lake for the first time. It was just a great feeling to see it floating away, and then to actually be able to land, these aeroplanes on it. It was just the cherry on the cake. It was the best. I was going to say the best thing I've ever done. I mean, it's probably not far off. It's definitely the best thing I've ever made, and probably my biggest achievement. And I did a degree, and that took a lot of work as well. So I would definitely prefer to do another aircraft carrier rather than another degree or something like that.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I agree. I think learning by doing at this phase of my life as well, I kind of feel the same. But yeah, man, I wanted to once again thank you for jumping on. We're just at about 20 minutes or so, right where we like to keep it. So once again, thank you so much for jumping on. If you guys have any questions for James over the next 10 days or so, feel free to tag him in the comment section, ask some questions there. But once again, James, thank you so much for coming on. If you guys liked this content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video maybe. And thank you so much for jumping on, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. So I'd love to do it again.
Absolutely. All right. See you guys.